So thank you. As I said, my name is Thomas Hamski. I was already up here before, so but I'm wearing a different hat now. As Alan said, I hosted the conference in Iowa in 2024 or last year. When I was asked to come up here, I wasn't given much information about what I want to share, so I'm just going to kind of give a brief overview of our organization, kind of what we talked about in IHEEP, and really kind of share what's going on. So I'm just curious, how many people here have ever been to any IHEEP conference? So quite a bit of you. So maybe I don't need to say too much information, but the Highway Engineering Exchange Program is just that, an exchange program. It is a group of technical people that get together annually to say, hey, this is what we're doing. And as Oklahoma likes to say, we always rip off and deploy. And that's what we do. I've learned so many different things from other states. I've stolen ideas from Pennsylvania back when Vern Danforth was in Florida. I stole a lot of things from him in Florida. And it's just, IHEEP is all about exchanging information, and us, the technical people, the doers and movers of the transportation organizations. We're out there sharing information so that we can all help each other. IHEEP was founded in 1956, a long time ago in Portland, Oregon, with its first informal meeting, and then its first official meeting was in 1959 here in California, up in San Jose. We've had 66 conferences now since then, with our most recent one being in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this year, past October. We covered many different topics. Our conference is getting to be bigger and bigger each year, it seems. We are seeing that there is a growing need for information to be talked about what's going on. This year we had over 800 people come together in California, and even then we were sold out. We had people that still wanted to come to the conference, so it kind of shows you what's going on in this industry. We had nearly every single state represented this year at the conference, which was a huge thing. Our president, Iris Neal from South Carolina, she was on the phone or emailing so many people. We, unfortunately, due to travel restrictions and various things, only 48 of the 52, including DC and Puerto Rico, was able to make it to the conference. But still, that is a tremendous goal, a tremendous achievement to get 48 different states to come together and really talk about what they're doing. And that's what's very important. So I want to give a big shout out to our president from this year. In 25, we had 235 different speakers talking on 145 different presentations throughout the week. There was so many different things. I don't want to read them all off, but the biggest overarching goal, biggest overarching thing that was talked about is data. How do we get information to go? How do we get the asset managers with Trisha happy with what is coming out of design? How do we organize our information? How do we share these things? In 23, we added UAS into a dedicated UAS group into it, and that's really been a lot of our growth for the last couple of years. And starting with information for survey, how do they share that out? How do they get that information, that big data? Like LiDAR is such large data. How do they share that to an achievable, biteable chunk out to us? Talking about quality control, talking about level development. How do we build these models? What information do we need to share from each phase of the life cycle? Really, this year we saw a lot of things, but we also saw that there is some, I don't want to say resistance, but there is some room for development and growth in the construction industry. We've really engaged the UAS group, but I think as an organization, we need to get more construction folks out there. We need to get our contractors and community. I don't know how we grow more because we're already bursting at the seams with our attendance each year. But that was one thing that was very clear from the first day. There was some conversations about IFC. What does IFC really do? How do we communicate that? I think I saw it earlier today. Someone, I think it was Tennessee, talking about using Land XML and DXF still, because that was the today ready information. How do we get to that tomorrow ready, where that IFC file communicates that information effectively when it comes to doing those exchanges that are going on? So we found that in our first day with the DOT roundtables, that we were having some conversations when it comes to the construction folks really trying to decide, okay, what is it that we need? How do we get this information? Why are we doing IFC when this stuff works just fine? It's a set standard, or land XML is a set standard, so we're happy with that. But we need to get to that future ready point, and that was a big thing. Each year, another great thing about IHEEP is we engage in the youth, the future of our organization. So we have a student competition. We had 4 students that are competing from Pennsylvania, Austria, South Carolina, and Texas, and they gave some great presentations from various different topics. You can read them on there. You never read from press slides, so I'm not going to. But the point is, we try to engage with the future of us, and then looking at what they're talking about. It's like, well, I think the great one was, will AI replace jobs, and why internships are still important. That was a great topic to talk about. Like, everyone's talking about AI. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm very skeptical of AI, but even I know that there's reasons to talk about it. There's tools and things. So there's many different things that are going on. How do we embrace these new tools? How do we get these things going on? And the students put their research into place and really presented. It was a great time. As I said, in 23, we really went into a UAS technology. That's been, like I said, a lot of our growth. We had a really good demonstration this year. We had a very good site where we could demonstrate aerial, land, and sea UAS devices all at the same time, same place, where there was bathymetric, there was, we had Spot the Dog, many different vendors going on. And it was just a great overall demonstration of the capabilities of what's going on. So trying to do various things, they scanned the whole site, they showed off what was going on, and was really able to show off all of the new technologies going on for the start of our process. Sometimes even the end, when we get to asset management, there's so many things that the UAS is going on. IHEEP, as I said, the I in IHEEP is international. Right now, the international is mostly just Europe. We've, as a board, have talked about do we need to do more? But right now, it's mostly just Europe. I think maybe Asia would be a future, because there's a lot of things going on. I've heard people say China's just, I don't want to say clobbering, but China's way ahead of us when it comes to a lot of things they're doing. I think I've heard Singapore as well. So as we look at what's going on, we need to be cognizant of what's going on, but we also need to be cognizant of what's working for us here in the United States. We need to collaborate with our partners worldwide, because this is a global, international world, and we all have things that are going on. But this year we had an opportunity to help put together, I think Aaron, I don't know if is Aaron still in here? No, Aaron's not in here anymore, but Aaron Chamberlain here from California, he's on our board of directors. He was able to kind of help coordinate a peer exchange in Puerto Rico this year, as well as we as an organization did outreach to kind of help them do a match for a stick fund to help them to get more UAS going on. It was after the wake of the hurricane that devastated them a few years ago. We wanted to see, as an organization, how can we help with our expertise? How can we help with the funds that we have available to us? And on the other picture is our coordination with Europe. Every year we go over to Europe, have a good meeting talking about various things. The last couple of years has been a lot of BIM related things, and there's some great things going on in Europe that is very eye-opening to see when you're not used to seeing that. I was flabbergasted when I saw all the stuff they talk about with tunnels. I'm like, there's one tunnel in Iowa, and it's, I think, 40 feet in a state park, and I don't think do we manage it, Jim? Yeah, but it was very interesting when I got to the opportunity to go, and just all of the information they have with tunnels and various things, not to mention all the rest of the infrastructure they do. It's very good to meet and have a conversation with the European counterparts, because they're doing a lot of great things. In 24, I believe we started to do, or no, 23, we started to do a webinar series. We have one more yet this year that is focused on UAS, and we're going to be establishing our agenda for next year as well pretty soon. So if you get a chance, check out our website, heep.org, HEEP.org, for more information as we develop that. But it's like a little mini conference once a month. We try to give information that is about something that was relevant, that didn't quite make the conference, or something that's very topical. We've talked about design reviews, digital inspection, document authentication, and many different things. We as an organization want to share what's going on. So it's all about How am I doing on time? You're looking at what? 2 minutes? Okay, I'll go fast. Almost done here. Look out for our webinar series. It's coming up here soon in the future. So to recap, data agnostic solutions are the key to effectively communicate our project development. That was the big thing that came out of a conference this year. There's a lot of tools in the toolbox. They need to communicate with each other. I was just talking with Patrick Russo from OnStation about a pilot that we did recently in Iowa that is, I think that's been a key of what's been communicated here today is the people doing the work needs to use the tool that's correct for them. And that information needs to flow from one tool to another seamlessly. And that's very important because you don't want to force someone to use a tool that's not really meant for them. We also hosted the first digital delivery stakeholder group. I think Roger maybe talked about that earlier in the week. And then we also have a lot of national support for BIM related things when it comes to the ADCMS grants. I think that's really key. Unfortunately, Federal Highways can't be here. They weren't able to go to IHEEP as well because of various things going on. But there's a lot of national movement for this thing, and the conversations moving at IHEEP is a great thing that's going on. I just want to point out our 26 officers. They're all 3 in this room. We've got Alan, Jacob, and well, not yet official, but a semi-official Katie is our secretary for 26. So that's where the next conferences will be, respectively, in Texas, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma. And then with that, I just want to say, save the date, December 6th through 10th, 2026, Austin, Texas. Jacob, do you want to say anything else about that? Jacob says no. It's a great organization. If you want to know anything else, you can see any of us officers, Jacob, Alex, Alan, or Katie. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Thomas. All right, next up is the Caltrans ADCMS effort. Who is talking on that one? Or are they online? Is Mark? Oh, there you are. I was gonna say, he really doesn't need an introduction. Everybody should know who Mr. Counts is. Do you want this one or?
Yeah. I'm more like this guy, this thing. All right, Kelvin, you got me? Let's take this. Test drive. Calvin, this thing doesn't want to, this whole thing doesn't want to work. Really? You know what you always got to do? You always got to bring your own stuff. You know what? Surveyors, we don't trust anybody. Now it's really going to be awesome if this one doesn't work. Let's see. Let's give it a minute. Yeah. If this one doesn't work, then I don't know what's going on here. All right. There we go. I'm good. Yay. Woo. All right. Yo, how we doing? We're doing good, Trish? You guys having a good time? Angela, you having a good time? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do some fun before we kick this thing all the way off. My name is Mark Counts. I'm the chief of BIM Survey Systems. That's not me. Next time anyone sees Aaron, you got to shame him for leaving early. I'm just kidding. His daughter has a dance recital. And with our presentation getting swapped around, he had a family first. Can anyone relate to that? Anybody? All right, fantastic. But he is my partner in crime with almost anything we do digital delivery. So I want to at least give him a shout out. So that's Aaron. I'm sure most people know him. He's got 17 years of experience, over $300 million of infrastructure over the last 17 years. And he's married. And what's cool about Aaron is he's more of the creator and the innovator. And let's see. All right. And I'm more of the vision and the systems. And so when you put that together, you've got a pretty cool team. And so we have a ton of fun together. Like I said, I'm the chief of BIM Survey Systems. So that means I build all the new stuff and I make sure we integrate into the old stuff. I've got 20 years experience. I like to tell people I'm field tested and office approved. I'm also married. But now we're coming up to my favorite part of the presentation where I pick a victim. This is the best part of my presentation. It's the only reason I came was this, to make someone feel embarrassed. Just kidding. Steve, everyone give Steve a round of applause. We've already talked about this. Come on up, Steve. Yeah, buddy. This is BIM is all about learning how to trust one another, right? And so I came up to Steve and I said, hey, do you mind if I bring you up? I promise not to make you look too stupid and just be yourself. So, let's just give him one more round of applause.
I knew I should have sat in the back.
No, make him feel welcome. Come on, give one more round of applause. You're doing good. You're doing good. All right. I'm not going to hypnotize him or anything. Wait, you want me to go over here? Okay. Oh, you got the camera? I'm not used to that. Okay. So oftentimes we talk about BIM for I. What is BIM for I, right? Let me get my little handy. Oh, I see. Look at that. You guys are top notch. For us, it's better connecting our people, our workflows, our data, and our outcomes. And we're finding that when we approach it this way in that order, we actually have truly connected outcomes. Where divisions and groups are better connected, the public's better connected. So this is like that higher level sort of mission and vision concept of better connecting our people, workflows, data, and outcomes. So we're going to look a little bit about connection between me and Steve. So we've been running into each other over the last 2 years. And so it's real simple, but you can't look at me. You got to look at Steve. He's like, I wish I was in the back. All right, so we're just going to do something real simple. We've handshaked plenty of times. You and I, we've handshaked. So let's go ahead and handshake. Okay. All right, so now tell the group, 1 to 10, how good was I?
Pretty good. That was 9.
9. Oh, hot dog. I almost asked Katie to come up, but I was afraid she's got high standards, she'd give me like a 3. Okay, so what could I do to make it better? Did I come in hard enough? Too hard? Like what are we working with here?
Firm grip, eye to eye.
You want eye to eye. Ooh, he wants to go in there. Get in there, Trish, right? Okay. So I'm gonna try to get a 10. All right. Do you think I could do it? We'll see. All right, let's go for it. Ooh, whoa, hey. Okay, how'd I do?
Very good.
10? Okay. So one of the things, and I've done this a handful of times now with people randomly, just like this, right? And try to like not bias the outcome. And every single time, what do you think happens to me when I change my process? Every time I have a better handshake experience. Not once have I failed experiencing a better handshake with somebody, right? So I can't really go for an 11, but I'm going to try. So everybody, okay, watch Steve's face. I'm going to try. Here we go. Ready? Yeah, huh?
No bueno. No.
Once again, did you see the disgust, the shame, the dirty feeling creeping from the inside? Everybody give Steve a round of applause. Thank you. So we're trying to better connect our people, our workflows, our data, and our outcomes. Let's work our way through this. So where do you start? Where do you start with this? Raise your hand if you started with models of legal document. You thought, hey, that's the best place to start for BIM for I. Raise your hand. Just be honest. Okay. All right. There's our engineers. Fantastic. Who thinks the place to start your digital as-built? Okay. There's our asset management people. Fantastic. Who thinks the best place to start is to come up with a good CDE? Contractors and software developers. Fantastic. Right. Just buy my CDE. Right, Rad? How about the project information model? Maybe you're going outside of models of legal document and you're just really focused on having a really good project information model. I saw a hand down here. And then what about this one? This is really what you want, Trish. You want the digital as-built that really leads to this full asset information model, right? But where do you start, right? And so what we've learned over the last 3 years going through this is we're kind of starting with all of it. Raise your hand if you're kind of dabbling in all of it. Anybody? Just Caltrans, huh? Okay. Maybe we're crazy. I don't know. But in order to start with all of it, if we wanted to really develop a good project information model, and we want to have a good asset information model, we want to be able to use the CDE to its full capacity. We also realize that we need a better data governance. And so, like what we like to tell people is we're doing 3 processes in parallel. We're doing ISO 19650, we're doing the PIM, and we're doing the AIM, right? And you might say, but wait a minute, you have to have all your ISO 19650 stuff figured out. We don't got time for that. How long do you think it's going to take for a state like ours to come up with a full 19650? Karosh, how long? 10 years, right? And so that's what we realized. If we wait for any one of these to be done before the other thing gets started, I'm going to be long gone. Probably most of the people in this room will be long gone. And that just doesn't work for us. What I'm going to do is present on one bucket of the 3 buckets that we're working on. And really what we realized is in order to fully do 19650, we needed a home for it. We needed somewhere for our standards to live, because if you want centralized, shareable, interactable data, we realized you need the same kind of home for your standards. But when we looked around, we didn't really see anything that caught our eyes. So we figured we'd start to build our own and see what happened. Okay, data governance. Let's just cut to the slide. So scatter digital standards across. Raise your hand if you've got Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, proprietary interfaces that contain different pieces of your standards. Seriously, raise your hands. I want to see if I'm alone or if I got friends. Thanks, Jim. You're my friend. All right. No single source of truth for our standards. This should be, where's Christian? Connor Christian. This should be like, this is his love language. You know, get a beer in him and he'll talk about this for hours. No single source of truth for your standards, right? This means it's hard to track updates. If I do an update in my feature code library, but George doesn't have access to what I do, we're going to be developing standards independent of each other, right? Even if we're both solving the 19650, we're not really embracing the spirit of it because we're not doing it together. Is this resonating? Anybody? Somebody? Ben, give me a hallelujah. He's like, sure. What? Yeah, that's an engineer's hallelujah, by the way, just like a head nod. Realizing the need for digital governance. You know, assessing gaps in existing digital standards. That's the other thing too. We do have a heck of a lot of digital standards, but we don't have enough to cover everything. So we found quite a bit of gaps. And we also realized that, are we the only DOTs that kind of think you're the center of the universe? Yeah, just us? Sorry, where's Ray Hopkins? Hopefully I'm not letting out all our dirty secrets. Yeah, right, because how often do we connect ourselves to the international community as a DOT? It feels like it's hard enough, right, Mina, just to kind of get things going within your own house. So this is also part of our exercise. And then modernizing it into a live connected data standards experience, where we can then take everything once it's digitized and centralized and we can put it to work, right? What can you do with a spreadsheet, Katie? So much stuff. All right. Can you produce a template, a CAD template with it? No. Can you produce a GIS schema with it? No. But you can do stuff. But you can do only the stuff that spreadsheet was designed to do, right? And so we wanted something more. We wanted something bigger. We wanted something more serviceable. Okay. So in other words, you all seen this thing. Where's my Esri guy? This comes from Esri's website. In other words, if we want to get to this, a truly connected environment, we've realized that we need a truly connected data standards environment. We can't get to this without this. That's what we're learning. And so we've been hard at work for the last 1.5 years using ADCMS grant funds to build this home out for our digital standards. So here's sort of the takeaway. If you get anything from this presentation, first, digitize, centralize, and connect your department's standards. Then digitize, centralize, and connect your department's data. That's one of our biggest lessons learned. And that's why we're so excited about building a home for our standards. Okay, I've got let's see, there's a little clap on there. Thank you for that online. So this is what we're gonna do because my time's limited. I put 3 videos in this slide deck. We're gonna go through one together, and then you have 2 to go through at home or on your airplane or whatever. So if you're interested in this, once you get the slide deck, you can go through the other videos. So this is our digital products catalog. Let's see, do I have to click play? I thought I was supposed to just start going on its own. Is it playing? Okay. Is it just slow? It's slow, huh? All right. Here we go. Okay, so a few things here as we're going into it. I'm gonna have to kind of pause and play. So you can see on the bottom, your right corner, DPC to BSDD JSON. Where's our building smart people? Anybody here? Or they just came yesterday and left? Any BSDD? Oh, we got Ian. Ian's still in the house. How does that make you feel that you are part of our path forward? Feels good? All right. Let's give Building Smart a round of applause too, because we really appreciate the work you do. We want to do it with you. We don't want to do it alone, right? The days of silo work gotta come to an end at some point. So everything that we're building here will be, actually already is connectable to BSDD. We're pretty proud of that. All right, so moving forward, this is the actual interface. This is like we call this our 2.0. Now back to Katie. Oops. So this is going way fast. I made this one just for you all. Okay, so you can see, it's hard to see, but the very top item, generate Civil 3D. So what we can do today is we can generate our DTM template in Civil 3D. So the idea is you make one edit to one feature, add a feature, expand attribution on a feature, grab new attribution for a feature, and it automatically is going to produce all these template products. It literally does it today. So we can do a Civil 3D template. We can do an XML workspace document. We can do and then we can do our feature code library. We haven't dialed in the MicroStation template yet, and we're working on the TBC template right now. But the goal is to have all of those templates. So once we do one edit to one asset, you can create templates with it. So that's, Katie, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, what can an Excel spreadsheet do? It can do a lot, but it can't do that, right? You need a more powerful engine to do something like that. Okay. And yeah, so I'm going to kind of skip through some of this stuff. Okay, so from an ISO 19650, as we're working our way up to our OIR, AIR, PIR, EIR, we're sort of right in between integrating our existing standards and getting to that full 19650 realization. So what that means for us is now we've got a home, though, to put it. So where's my HDR people? Where's Alexa? All right, thank you. Back corner, you're smart. You know how to stay away from me when I get a microphone. Very smart. So HDR Alexa's team is helping us. How many asset classes we got? Three main groups of 3 main groups, but a lot of assets in those groups: safety, utilities, and drainage, right? So we had a really interesting experience about 3 weeks ago with Alexa's team. We brought 2 HDR folks, 2 Michael Baker folks, and we brought 2 folks from across the pond from National Highways. And we brought these brain trusts together and said, what's the best way to document an asset, to document all the parent and children relationships? What's the best way to do this? How to make sure we integrate into BSDD and the different ISOs? And so we had a 2-day time-intensive thing and came out with a really neat process, but it's got a home. That's the whole point of this. So now as HDR does their work, it's all going into this database. The days of spreadsheets are over for us, not just in project delivery, but also in our standards. Any questions so far? I got 3 minutes. We're going to skip that. Now, here's some things you can do, right? So other than creating templates, you can get pretty specific as well. So we ended up having to normalize. We went from 400 survey feature codes. We normalized them down to 150. And then we went from 44,000 plus bid items down to 1,100 features. And so what we did was we normalized. We collapsed all these bid items into their main categories. And then on the back end, we connected every one of those normalized categories to our feature code from our field collection schema. So you know what that means? That means all of our DCI folks, which we've got about 4,000 of them, digital construction inspectors, they can now inspect with a field app in a way that feels like home to them by their bid items. But on the back end, we've mapped every single feature code to those bid items. So when we bring it into our processing system, guess what? It all interoperates. Everything feels like home. Everything fits like home. All right. Yeah, we got quite a bit here. And then I've got to hit these because it's like a TED Talk, 15 minutes. So we have, so that's the system, right? So we've built the system now. Now we have 2 partners in the grants, in this grant. One is our materials group. And so what they're working on is they've got their own sort of set of feature classes that they're working on that they're loading into the DPC. And then we have our bridge folks, Ben. They are also working on, their main focus right now is cast in place post-tension concrete girders and the different types of retaining walls. So as our bridge group and our materials group, as they're working through the 19650 roadmap and they're deeply detailing out these assets, and construction and surveys are continuing to do their work and design's doing their work, and everything's got a home, the idea is at some point, we're going to get to this place of what we like to call our digital cathedral. And those that have heard this before, digital cathedrals take a long time to build, right? Right here in the front corner, good eye contact the whole time, man. Like A+. Yeah, just like right eye to eye. How long do you think it took a cathedral to get built? Back in the day? Yeah, I'm looking at you. Take a wild guess. Yeah. Okay. He bailed you out. You're lucky. Are you the boss? You know? Yeah. So give that man a raise. Yeah. Between 200 to 400 years, right? To take. So it's a generational thing. And the reason why we call this our digital cathedral project is because we know it's going to be multi-generational. None of us are in delusion that me and Trish, by the time we've ran our race, this race will get to the finish line. We know that. But we also know that if we run it right and plan it correctly, we can pass that baton to the next generation so that at some point we will get to that finish line. So here, in closing, BIM for Caltrans is building more than 3D models, okay? It's building a digital cathedral, a living system where standards, workflows, data, and outcomes are united on a single foundation. And for us, this foundation is our digital products catalog. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, Mark. So next up is the Washington State DOT ADCMS grant, and Michael Ross from Jacobs will be presenting.
Well, thank you, and good to see everybody. Mark's obviously a very hard act to follow, so I will not try and bring that level of energy and engagement, but hopefully we can hear some interesting things here about the work that's been happening in Washington. So Jim Mayhew is the one that got this ADCMS grant and wasn't able to, he was double booked, so I get the honor of presenting this. And then Rick Bryce, as many of you know, is in the room from Washington as well. Very knowledgeable on the topic. So Washington came about this problem set, or kind of approached this from a pretty different angle. So instead of starting at the design portion of the life cycle, they started at the LiDAR collection and asset management side of the cycle. So they went out and had all 7,000 miles of their roadway scanned with mobile LiDAR, and there's other presentations we've done at IHEEP and other places. You can look up or feel free to reach out to Jim, but how that went, we actually did boots on the ground testing of this to see Mach 9, Bentley, Manage and Extract, Fusion Map, TopoDot, right? How the different products were able to use AI to extract information out of those AI models. So I think we just did like a terabyte worth of data. There's close to 400 terabytes of data in that mobile LiDAR scan, right? So you have this huge pile of data when you do that, and how do you actually get something useful out of it so you don't just have another, you know, set of hard drives or servers that you have to manage and not get information out of. So this is kind of the diagram where Jim started and had in his proposal to FHWA. And so at the end, we'll see kind of where we're at with that process and what we're able to find out. So early on, Rick drafted this slide for us, a modification of that one, right? To say, well, how does IFC and openBIM fit into this life cycle, right? Can it be in the middle? Is it kind of off to the side? Where we're gonna interact with it? How many checks do you have to do moving data in and out of it? So again, it skews to the design side, right? That's where openBIM is focused and where you would think to use it. We tried to look at, could that data come straight from LiDAR into the IFC format and provide us the information there, right? Could you just take those, so the LiDAR extraction, for those who don't know, was giving us pretty precise XYZ locations for the signs. I guess that's the other piece I should reiterate for those that aren't aware of this project. Not only did we start with the LiDAR collection, we started focusing on signs. We thought, okay, that's a discrete object. It's easy to talk about. You're not looking at guardrail or something that spreads through multiple LiDAR tiles and causes other issues. So just looking at roadway signs, traffic signs, and we're able to say, okay, those come out, you have your XYZ, you have your MUTCD code coming out of some of the LiDAR extraction software. Can that data just be inputted into an IFC and kind of put into a 3D model so that you know where your objects are? And it was difficult. So what we found out was if you start there and try and put your data into the IFC format then into ORD in particular, we also tested this with Autodesk, but it was this 9-step process. We determined you could bring in the locations, but to get all those attributes that we were having from the spreadsheets, it took 9 steps. So what this is showing is you'd bring in the object and have the geometry in ORD, but then we'd write a Python script. And I apologize that URL's not going to be live till tomorrow, but once you guys get the slides, you'll be able to click on that and see these Python and JSON files that we wrote to illustrate this. All that's being shared publicly. But we needed to write those files in order to extract and to line up those data sets, right? So you have to get the item types back out of ORD and say, okay, how do I line these up with the other data in my database? And so that was a big part of the effort to look at that and see, all right, where can we really create that join and make this valuable? The other piece we did that's not covered in this presentation, because I really tailored this to IFC, is looking at that join in general, right? Of how do you join new data to existing data? And it was particularly challenging in Washington because all their existing data is only on their linear reference system, right? So if all you have is milepost to the hundredth of a mile, it's really difficult to align that to the very precise data we were getting out of LiDAR. So getting all these data sets aligned, we thought is really the key to bringing the value from this, right? Otherwise, you just have this data kind of orphaned and like I said, these new piles of data that somebody can sift through and find things in, but it's not connected to your legacy systems. So with those struggles with IFC, we went back to the AASHTOW standards, and I found this document, and it was talking about, well, should you be using a 3D model for everything, right? And so in the case of something like a traffic sign, the question became, well, is the 3D model the right way to move this? Is it IFC in particular the right way to move this? And so the result was no. We started using the geospatial feature service in ORD to be able to bring in the data tables that we have about our traffic signs. And it was because we didn't already have geometry, it was a much easier way to bring that data into ORD. And so I guess I just challenge you to think about it, right? We want to support IFC. We see this as a valuable tool, but I think somebody said it yesterday, right? It's not everything's a nail. It doesn't always have to be the IFC hammer to get your data in. You can use things like geospatial feature services, bring the data into your CAD software, and then attach it, get your item types, get everything set, and then have the IFC file be the result. So for us, that bringing data in an IFC format into the CAD softwares was probably the biggest challenge, right? Neither OpenRoads, any of the Bentley products we tested, or the Autodesk products we tested could bring in an IFC file completely lossless without a lot of work like we saw in this morning's presentations, right? You have to have that clean IFC, and even then, it's not a perfectly lossless file system where you can go from your CAD software to IFC, and then someone does or doesn't do something to it, and then you bring it back in, right? So if you took a file from OpenRoads, exported it as IFC, and tried to import it into Autodesk, you're going to have some level of loss at this point, unless you have a very simple model. So the next piece we kind of looked at, or this is all happening in parallel, but was the data dictionary, right? I think everybody here has heard about the data dictionary, talked about the data dictionary. Washington, again, wanted to do boots on the ground, actionable tasks with their grant money. And so we started building a data dictionary. It's publicly available, it's posted. You can find it on the Building Smart site if you search for WashDOT signs or traffic signs. Both tend to bring it up. And what you'll see is that if you search just traffic signs, you'll get lots of results, but they'll have no properties, right? So it'll say, oh, this is a traffic sign, but there's nothing in there, and they're from ETIM or some of these other international groups. So Washington really thought it's valuable to use that platform to discuss this and to put those that data out there, and is really looking for feedback from the other DOTs, the counties, anybody who would potentially use this to say, does this set of properties make sense? So for traffic signs, it's about 55 properties that they're up to right now. It kind of goes up and down each revision, depending on what we find from our feedback. So the next piece of that was to say, okay, well, we can create this based on our own asset management system and say, these are the 55 things that we care about on a traffic sign, but how does that better integrate with IFC? And so we started trying to search, and I think this would be my challenge for the openBIM people in the room, is we need a better search for the data dictionaries. So basic things like, well, do I put the lat long in as a new property? It's got to be in there somewhere, but trying to find within the IFC standard the correct way to do lat long. You know, do you use IFC coordinate reference system? Do you use project global positioning, right? There's multiple ways within the IFC structure that things can be geo-referenced, and it's very cumbersome at this point for someone new. And we spent a lot of time looking at the existing features to try and figure out, are we repeating something that already exists in IFC, or is this truly new content that needs to be available for everybody to use? And part of that's property sets, right? Is not just having those features in there, but having them organized in a logical manner. So I'd really encourage people that are getting into data dictionary to think about that and think about property sets, not just for the features or the things that the properties that you're defining for yourself, but it's a great way to link in those other ones so that the people that come behind you don't have to go and find, oh, yeah, they're using the coordinate reference system or the global positioning, right? You can link in there and create those as related. So it's a really great way to structure that so others can see everything that you're using, not just your new words or properties that you're adding. Like I said, this was a big effort for us. So again, there was a lot of software programmers involved in this project. So they kept making additional Python scripts or JSON files to support these things. So there's another one for this BSD converter that'll be available. Again, I apologize, it won't be available tomorrow, but that URL is the correct URL. And just the tools needed to go through that, right? To say, yeah, the BSD Building Smarts put up this Excel template, they put in these converters, but there's no graphical interface to use those Python files. It's very kind of disjointed, and it definitely took some effort. So we're happy to be able to share that effort that we went through and have other states use that. And right, it's GitHub, it's code. You know, you can fork it and do what you want with that and create it for your own purposes. But at least it's someplace to start and to kind of see how it could be done. So I alluded to this earlier, you know, it's this data silos, and this could be LiDAR, TSMS is the traffic sign management system for Washington. It could be design and LiDAR. It could be any two of your data sets. But again, it's probably hard to read, but it's TSMS again is in the linear reference system, and joining it to that LiDAR data that's in northern easting or state plane took effort. And so how do you keep that connection? And so the question is, well, do you just take the data from one source and then keep populating and making a larger data set, or do you connect them? And so Washington settled on connecting them, and the way they're choosing to do that is with this, the central database is this very simple table that just has a parent GUID, right? As we've talked about GUIDs, that's what they look like for those who haven't seen them. They're statistically unique identifiers, right? You don't have to manage them. So if you create a parent and create the children, and then what that child references, you can then have this stickiness to say, okay, if I'm talking about this stop sign on this corner of this intersection, well, that's also the same stop sign that's in the LiDAR data. That's the same stop sign that's in your design, right? It's going to be changed from a stop sign to a yield sign in the next design. Whatever that happens, you can create that stickiness to be able to define that object in all your other data sets. And so that we think is going to be kind of their aim, their asset information model, and the way in which they can kind of create this world where you don't have to give up ownership of your data and say, well, I'm giving this data to the traffic group, even though design wants to own it, right? Each group in that life cycle can continue to own their data, but have access to see that someone else is working in that same space. I will note the GUIDs in openBIM are basically zipped, they're condensed. So when they started using GUIDs in openBIM, it was in '96, and they had to compress them in order for them to fit on a floppy disk. And so just be aware of that the GUIDs look different in openBIM. They can be decompressed, but it is something to be aware of. All right. So this is the kind of the last slide, that coming back to what's this look like now. So we looked at that, what are we getting out of LiDAR? How does that come into that common data environment? What gets connected versus copied? And so we did that with the traffic. Like I said, that was our starting point of connecting those two data sets, then taking that more accurately located asset and providing it to your designers. So currently design's going and doing reports and basically pulling an Excel spreadsheet into their CAD software to know about the existing assets. This allows them with that global feature service or geospatial feature services to pull data directly from the database into open roads and see that mapped without any additional effort, right? It's not a static table where they're just looking up things. It's actually getting mapped accurately in open roads. And then it becomes, okay, how do we get that data out? And this is kind of a part where we're at now of, do you just have the IFC model and is that enough? Or is it the IFC model and a report? And so we're looking at the report features in open roads and being able to have that come out and be easily ingested back into the database. We're finding if we go through IFC, you can use programs like IFC SQL or IFC Shell and break the data back out of the IFC file and put it in a SQL database or the database format of your choosing, but we're less confident that we're not going to have data corruption. So currently we're using the report systems out of open roads to produce that data, and then sending the model and the entirety of the project out with the IFC format is the plan. But so the IFC model goes to construction, obviously, but then the inspectors are able to run queries on the database and manage their inspections of construction based off that data that came through the common data environment. And then, of course, they can put data back in to say the install date or the post type changed or whatever kind of things that they allow during the construction process. But then maintenance, right? You got to keep this cycle and get it through the finish line. And so then you have maintenance pulling data and again, putting it back in. And then the key that we're looking at is traffic is kind of your authoritative database for this. And so Washington, following ISO 19650, wants to have that gatekeeper, right? That says, okay, what changed, whether it's from construction, design, or maintenance, what changed in the data, and allow a person to review that and say, yes, I trust this, this makes sense. Like we heard before, the data is not off in the ocean, right? It's still geolocated properly. We'll let that data back into our authoritative database, which is the traffic sign management system in our case. So I think I'm just about on time. Again, Jim Mayhew is the one from Washington that is responsible for this. So please feel free to reach out to him. You can of course reach out to myself, and then Rick Bryce, who's also in the room, if you'd like to learn more about any of the things that we've done. That's all I had.
All righty. Thank you, Michael. So next up will be the AASHTOWare OpenAPI in action. Joe Bruewer from Michigan DOT. I guess he's virtual.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, very good. Let me get my presentation up here and we'll get right into it. All right, I hope you are now seeing the presentation.
Need to hit that green
Not yet.
share the screen button.
All right, let me try to share it again here. About now.
We got you. We're
We got your email.
email.
I'm sorry, you got my email?
We're seeing your email right now.
I apologize.
No
I'm
worries.
I'll get with the game here in a minute. Let's see if we can drag this over. All right, let me try this again. I apologize. How about now?
There you go. We're seeing intro to data integration.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, thank you very
you.
much. And that concludes the presentation there. So no. All right, let me get back here. All right, well, I apologize for the delay. My name's Joe Bruewer. As indicated, I work for the state of Michigan for the Department of Technology Management and Budget. I support the AASHTOWare project, AASHTOWare BRM, and supporting the Michigan Department of Transportation. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about AASHTOWare OpenAPI, which is an effort by AASHTOWare to make their products talk to each other better, and by also allow third parties to access AASHTOWare data in a common way. And also then agency applications also have a common way to access that data. So today I'm just going to go through a quick outline here, a little introduction. Why is it needed? We'll talk a little bit about some of the teams that have been formed to support it, benefits, how it's being used, some future possibilities, and how you can learn more if you're interested. This is just some of the folks that work on it. AASHTOWare has what they call a special committee on applications. The TNA task force sits off and reports to them, and we oversee a lot of the technical work done for the different products, BRM, BRDR, AASHTOWare Project, and Pavement. And these are some of the folks that it's my pleasure to work with over the years. So I haven't been able to listen to your whole conference, but I have been listening for the last hour or so. And I think a lot of this stuff you guys probably know much better than I do. And so I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, but just really quickly, you know, the OpenAPI is there to help with data integration, right? And I think you would all agree if you look at some of the challenges, the diverse data sources, inconsistent formats, just the volume you have to deal with. And why is it important, right? To have good data, reliable data that you can make improved decisions and have better efficiency and ultimately enhance the customer's experience. So what is an API? Again, you guys probably know this very well. It's just a way for these diverse systems to talk to each other. It's one of the gentlemen before was started off his presentation with a handshake. That's essentially what an API is, right? It's a technical handshake between two systems where they agree on how they're going to discuss their information, how they're going to exchange it. So again, I think what AASHTOWare was hoping with the OpenAPI is it would make things easier for development, would provide a consistent way for development, and also hopefully get people to reuse instead of reinvent. If we had all of these things documented and the APIs available documented in a common fashion. So again, a little bit more, why do we need an AASHTOWare OpenAPI? Again, others have talked about it here just in the last few minutes about siloed products, limited connections. So again, I hope most of you there would appreciate the need for anything that helps that communication go easier and be more responsive and easier to implement. So just to note, you know, somebody was talking about building a cathedral. I don't know if we're to that level, but we've been working on this since 2018. So this is the OpenAPI platform team. I won't spend a lot of time, but I am the chair of this team, and I've been the chair of this for almost 3.5, 4 years now. We work with a lot of great folks from across the nation that sit on some of the other products, and it's been our objective to see this idea of an AASHTOWare-wide OpenAPI and work it through the requirements and get it into production and get it productional. And we did go productional in 2023. And I need to give a special call out to Luann Doherty. The gentleman, I think maybe it was Thomas Hamski, was talking about stealing. I don't know if he used the word stealing, but reuse, right? And so I very much thank Luann because I am reusing a lot of one of her prior presentations. So just a few minutes here on what the OpenAPI is. Runs on a modern cloud platform. We run on the Azure platform. It incorporates the full suite of AASHTOWare products. Again, going back to one of the main goals of the OpenAPI was to make it easier for those products to connect to each other and to other products. So web delivered, standards-based data service. Again, I would think you folks could relate to the importance of standards. Extends agencies' existing AASHTOWare investment. And, what does that mean? Well, it just makes the data available. If you agree that there's value in the data and there's investment and time to create that data, this allows others to have more easier access to it. Adds new capabilities to the existing features. In modernizing AASHTOWare as an open platform, one way to get the data, one standard way. And then finally allows secure and private connection of data between all DOT enterprise apps. So benefits that we see of using the OpenAPI, establishing the standards again. So we have a single way of going after the data. Making it an open platform. Hopefully, I don't know if we've eliminated traditional barriers, but maybe knocked some of them down and made it easier for people to get access to data. Allows for cheaper and quicker maintenance. Again, single way to do it. You do it once, get it set up once, and then any subsequent APIs should be a lot easier to implement. Let's see. Leverage existing API. Again, we've talked a lot about build once, use often. A lot of that has to go, the success of that hinges on making sure people know that it's there and know what's been built. And there is a portal that you can go to where you can see all that information as far as what's been built and what's available out there. So here's just a quick slide on, again, the OpenAPI has been productional since I think it was June of 2023. And here's some examples of how it's been used so far. Pavement ME is getting climate data. And I might be wrong, but I believe, when they're doing some inspections or whatever, and they want to know exactly what the weather was that day, they can make a call and get a trusted, verifiable weather report, I suppose. AASHTOWare project, Hall Hub, has integrated an e-ticketing API. Nebraska and Virginia were really the front runners on that, but these other states listed here have at least are looking at the API in a development environment, but those first three there, I believe, are productional with their use of the Hall Hub e-ticketing API. Wisconsin started working with the Census Bureau on census data, and that went well, and now the Census Bureau is reaching out to try and use that with other states. AASHTOWare project again there was a joint construction on a bridge between Ohio and Kentucky over the Ohio River, and they needed a way to share data between the two agencies, and so they were able to use the API to do that. Quantumate is an effort led by Minnesota and had 14 other states. And as you can see, it was to automate quantities and estimation between Bentley and AASHTOWare project. And then finally, there is Asset Tracker, which is something developed for AASHTOWare project that helps organize your pay items, if you will, into assets, allows you to look at them from a different level, more of an asset level. So here's some statistics for over the last 90 days. Technically, it's a 90-day period from July to beginning of October. But about 1.5 million requests, 96 organizations, which could be agencies or third parties that are interested in the API. Total users registered right now is 300. And in that 90 days, we transferred about 83 gigabytes of data. Here's some things that might be looked at in the future. AASHTOWare project to financial systems. This kind of gets into maybe helping AASHTOWare have a common way for some of these systems that most all agencies have. So, you know, financial, enterprise-wide systems, data warehousing, project management, and document management are some things that might be looked at in the future. These are the ones I showed you before were a lot of those were AASHTOWare project. And one on this slide is also AASHTOWare project, but it's going to BRM. So, and then BRM is also looking at potentially some things with asset management, inspection, and some of the route network and structure locations. I was a little hesitant to put this slide up there because, as I mentioned before, Luann helped me out quite a bit with this. And this slide may be out of date. It may not reflect things that you guys are currently working on. I believe Will Holmes from Kentucky did a presentation yesterday. And I think he might have covered some of these. So, but this is just to give you an idea. And so again, I apologize if these things are not, if you look at it and go, well, that's old news. I apologize for that. But what is, I think, still valid is AASHTOWare. If you want to communicate with AASHTOWare products, the OpenAPI gives you a way to enforce data standards and gives you a common way to go after that data. And I believe there's also an effort underway within AASHTOWare to have AASHTOWare project, BRM, and BRDR to align their schemas with the IFC schemas. So I finished a couple minutes early, but here's one last slide here. If you want information, you can go to the 2 links provided there. If you have any questions for me that you want to follow up on, my email's right there for you. We are planning a webinar to occur within the next couple months. To kind of go over some of the API updates, some of the improvements to the portal. Also, we're taking a hard look at the help desk, and there's areas for improvement in the communication between the AASHTOWare OpenAPI support and some of the vendor support. But we're working on getting that cleaned up. And then AASHTOWare has AASHTOWare Connect. I'm not sure exactly of the date, but it's normally April, May of 26 is when that will occur. So that was all I had. I do have a couple minutes. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that was all I had for you today.
All righty. Thank you, Joe.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Yeah. Enjoy that nice San Diego weather there.
Most definitely.
All right. Have a good afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next up, talking about asset management and openBIM is Trisha Stefanski.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, you would have thought, since I helped put together the agenda, I would have had this earlier than the end. But it does fit with all the other presenters today. So hi, everybody. I'm Trisha Stefanski, and right now my hat is going to be asset management. Said that for you. And I'm not going to be like Mark Counts. He's amazing. Is he still in the room? But I do want to say that I lean into the Minnesota thing. So you can see on the screen, these are some things that you would see in Minnesota. And I want to point out, like, you know, sometimes you're thinking you might see a moose or a deer, but you could see Paul Bunyan, right? Crossing the road. I also want to point out the road is a little curvy ahead. It's okay for the road to be curvy. We like curvy roads, especially in the fall. Look at how pretty it is. So the road might be curvy, you guys, in what we're doing. And I can see how much progress is being made already. You can't always see where you're going, but I'll tell you, the road will take you there. So asset management and openBIM is equal to success. So let me talk about that. That's not working. Is it over here now? I don't know, Calvin, it's not advancing. It was doing fine before, but. There we go. Do you want to try? Let me try this one. There, okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so today, you guys, again, Trisha Stefanski, I want to say thank you, first of all, to Will and for me being involved in this. This is amazing. So thank you for that. Great partner. We have a good time. I also want to say thank you to AASHTOWare. I'm really glad that I'm chair of JSTAN, but I especially want to say thank you to MnDOT. And I feel like this is my easy part of all of those three things. I think this is the easiest, but MnDOT supports me to travel, to talk to all of you, to learn from all of you, and hopefully share things back. So I really have to say thank you, and especially if my boss is on today. But the evolution of asset management, I'm going to start with that. We haven't really talked enough about that, so I have to talk about asset management, the synergies that you see between openBIM and asset management, and then I'm going to highlight some current efforts and recipes that I think are going to be successful. So what is transportation asset management? Now, if you're here yesterday, I was like, I dream about resolution AR 1-19. I also dream about this, like absolutely do. But that means I care. So I would say the easiest thing, FHWA did come up with a definition for this. It's a great definition. We have been practicing asset management. We do practice asset management in our agencies, but this became officially like strategic. And if at the end of the day, you don't remember anything else about asset management, just remember it's doing the right thing at the right time. That's what we want to do. We want to lower life cycle costs. We want to see what our investments are, and we want to just increase the life of those assets. So this is the FHWA definition. You can see some cool images there of what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, pavement and bridge, I love you, but we're not always talking about you, okay? There's other assets here. Signs, thank you over there, Rick. So what do we do with this? What does it do? I mean, like we're talking about today, it's not just kind of a statement of asset management, but it's a set of tools and techniques to sustain the condition and performance. So we have the asset inventories, we have life cycle planning, financial planning, performance, risk, measures and targets for condition, among other things. So I have a lot of slides in here from other people, which makes it a lot faster for me to get a presentation ready. And since I had 4, this slide comes from Gary Ruck. I think I've met Gary before, so thank you, Gary, out there. Presented at the 2025 Asset Management Conference. I really like this. This is an evolution, you guys. Asset management started out with planning, and I have a slide on that. It really started out, I think, officially because of the TAMPs. It started single asset, compliance driven. The data and practices were limited, and today it's integrated, it's strategic, and it's data rich. And I think that those hats, as we talk about, of these asset management folks are changing. You know, they're changing color to more data rich and integration. This was driven by legislative mandates. For example, MAP 21, I'm going to talk about that. Funding incentives, penalties, and innovation and efficiency goals. So there, change, chance. Let's not do chance, let's do change. So in July 6th, I was thinking I knew this date, 2012, President Obama signed into law MAP 21, Moving Ahead for Progress. How many of you are familiar with this or know that this happened long ago? Yes, some, good. So this officially said, we need to develop these risk-based asset management plans. And MnDOT was one of the first states to sit at the table. And I remember that day. Don't you love it when you're like, I remember that day when I was there sitting at the table. And I can't believe how much has changed from that day, but I was very fortunate to be there to kick off a consultant to say, what are we even making? What are we even doing? The guidelines were really generic and general. We kind of had an idea of what the chapters were going to be. Now I'm like, oh yeah, chapter 6, life cycle planning. Like I know that chapter. We always use it. But pavement and bridge focus. So we started out with New York and Louisiana, and now we're doing TAMPs every 4 years, and we do consistency reviews. But this has turned into not just a planning exercise anymore. And this also, I want to say, included federal funding. So federal funding we could use for asset management. Our office is funded, our staff time is funded with federal and state funds. So like I was saying, started out in planning. This is something I got. I always put a plug in for the AASHTO TAM guide. If you're, want to listen and do something else at the same time, go plug in AASHTO TAM guide, go look it up. I don't know how current this is, but if you look at it very quickly and you say red is planning, that's where these TAM organizations, and this is again a survey saying, hey, where do you have asset management within the DOT organization? And I think they had to kind of pick like one spot, which might not always be the case. But so if you look at this quickly, you can see a lot of agencies, right, have asset management and planning. But I'm going to tell you, and we do too, but those may not be the people that need to be involved in this. Those we want the people to be involved in this, the ones that have, with their eyes on the data, the asset owners that utilize data, utilize the systems. But you can also see here, again, not sure how up to date this is, but you can see some agencies have maintenance, like Texas. Texas says their asset management group is in maintenance. Engineering, that one is blue, right? So we're seeing Wisconsin, Nebraska, executive offices in California, in Virginia, I think that is. No, it's West Virginia, right? So raise your hand, you guys in the room, because I'm really curious if you think this is accurate for your state, or if you even know. Yeah, okay. I should say how about if it's not accurate? Do you think anyone say this is not accurate? Pretty good, okay. So as you can see, I think my point here is there's lots of TAM within the DOT organizations, and it's scattered in various locations. And this was decided for a reason. In Minnesota, it was decided because we had an executive leadership position who was very involved in asset management, and he happened to be in our planning division. So that's where we sat. I work with maintenance almost every single day. I talk to Angela's here. We have like a PDMS group that I talk to almost every other week, I would say, if not weekly. That would be like our design and construction folks. I don't think there's a bad spot for asset management, but it is all over the agency. So I always have to say the why. Okay, so talking about how asset management has changed, how maybe it started out with planning, and now it's moving into data. At MnDOT, this is a good shot of St. Paul, where I drive when I go to work, that we are using it for various reasons. And so I want to go through this with you. We're using it to meet regulations. So for stormwater, MS4 permitting, for our 811 locate system, we're literally taking our asset management data, underground data, and we're putting it on the map so our locators can use it and they can do the locates. They're loving it, absolutely loving it. We have state statutes that says we must inventory a variety of assets. We also are using it for risk mitigation and analysis, so risk scoring, like individual asset risk scoring. We have a noise wall, we have a retaining wall. How are we scoring that asset? And you can make a lot of good decisions early on when you're doing project delivery or you're planning for a project, when you know individually what the risk is for these assets. We're doing prioritization, you know, where do we need to do some things on the system, like I said, and then resiliency like a verb. That's really, really important for us when it comes to flooding in Minnesota and other things. And then short-term planning, maintenance. I always say, they go, we cannot plan. I'm like, well, 60% of the time, it works every time. So in maintenance, we can do some project planning because we have historical data, because we know what's happening out there. We have costs, and we're actually have a project right now where we're going to be distributing maintenance funds based on the number of assets and the cost that it takes for certain activities. So that's a great project, and I speak on that for other audiences. So in life cycle planning, I mentioned already, performance measures. And then probably everyone thinks of long-term planning because, again, of the TAMPs, right? What's our investment need? That's 10-year total cost of ownership. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this slide, again, to say, why are we doing this? Why is it important? Also, courtesy of Andrew Williams, City of Columbus, he's an awesome guy. 2025 Asset Management Conference. We're using it for data, using it for analytics. He just showed a cool tool, you know, where you can see the dashboard and then you can go to the map and you can see it a different way. I think this might be like their homegrown system. I can't remember. So we want to synergize. I was just looking at this picture. I was like, do you think that one's going to make it? I'm really sure. But what is synergy? I came up with this slide. I use this slide. I mean, anyone could use this. This is not like rocket science, but I used it probably 10 years ago. And then I saw that same slide, like Will, I guess, is really good at making slides because he's got a bunch of them up here. So, but the synergy concept is so great, right? The interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. I'm telling you, that is perfect for asset management, openBIM, for design. When we're doing this work in openBIM, we need those asset folks in the room. We need them beside us to determine what is the asset data that they need at the end of the day. So this is courtesy of Ash, who I get to spend time with a little bit ago, and she has developed kind of a cool depiction, and you all know why and how, because we've talked about it so much. So I'm going to just go through this, but look at these pieces, right? Coming in from the physical world to the digital world. And we have IFC, we have some city GML, we have intelligent transportation systems, and then the Internet of Things. So we're really getting these pieces together. And what I like about this slide is that, of course, it has to do with asset management. Data collection, data management, we can do all these things, data visualization, data analytics. We can do one source of data, seamless integration, better decision-making. You all are very aware. And because I love the circle of life and I love circle diagrams, we're putting this one up here too. This is from Trimble. I just saw it the other day. What I like about this one, I like it when we get a little bit more detail on these circles, because you can see how many people, how many different pieces of the transportation system are affected. So here I can see, you know, it's field data collection, again, remote monitoring, inventory management, safety. We don't talk about safety. We need that data for safety, right? We need Meyer, we need all these things. So kind of working through that and seeing how these circles are interacting. And then this one was already presented, I think, by Mark, but it is a good one. Thank you, Esri, for this. A lot of people wonder kind of how do models work with GIS or with asset management? We have all this data-rich information in these models, and we're going to, you know, I'm going to have the microphone be or the sign, and we're going to actually make it look like a sign, not just points anymore. But the data then can flow into asset management systems. The data can flow into GIS. So we utilize those, you guys, together. And I can't stress enough how important it is to get your asset information through that model, through that circle of life, the circle of life, but as well as we need to integrate those models across systems, right? So having both. And this is, Angela, you had no idea you're such a star. There's 3 of them for you. This was courtesy of Angela. And so this is like a MnDOT circle, which I really like in our digital delivery plan. I think sometimes I'm such a pain that she probably does this just so I don't say anything because I'm such a pain. So thank you. But you can see here another kind of rendition of how our ADCMS grant fits in. I'm going to talk about that. And then our intelligent construction technologies kind of coming into this circle of BIM. So hidden tax of construction, very quickly, $12 trillion spent in construction. We do a lot of waste on the project costs. There's 90% of the global infrastructure project face cost overruns, delays. I really liked this slide. I told Will that let's use it somewhere. This is again the why. This is some return on investment that we can make if we get openBIM and better asset management. Thank you, Alexa. This is old 2023, but this is a really good reference, you guys. So I'm not the only one saying this. We're not just saying it within Building Smart, but this is Lifecycle BIM for infrastructure, a business case for project delivery and asset management. And this was a couple years ago, but this is excellent. It's got a lot of the why here. I'm gonna go a little faster. How's my time, Will? 1 minute, okay, that's good. I always think I'm gonna be not so talkative. I don't know why. Like, all right. So this is another reference. You guys go out, look this up, take a picture. Really good information, a white paper on how we can do this. So recipe for success. What is the recipe? It's as good as your grandmother's tater tot hot dish. This is another Minnesota thing. I love her tater tot hot dish. So we have a nice Connect grant that we're doing. I expect to talk a lot more about this in the future, but it's all about data interoperability, knowing the data that you have, knowing that a lot of these processes are manual and that we want to change that. So this is really a focus between Bentley, Trimble, and Esri with openBIM in mind to kind of get this data and get it more interoperable. I'm going to say it as quickly as that for time's sake. And then we also are implementing Informatica. And I just put this slide in. I was just in a meeting 2 days ago and I thought, I'm going to put it in there. This is fantastic for data management. So you can see, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's equipment data. So it's saying, okay, this schema basically exists at MnDOT and here's the flow of it across different systems and we can track it. We can see what changes. This to me is going to be a game changer for us to implement standards. Arizona is doing some work with the Circle of Life. Michigan is doing some great work. Brad Charlo. Delaware, I love Delaware. Love those ladies in Delaware. They have a new asset management office, 28 states. Does your agency have dedicated staff? Yes. And here's our digital delivery strategic plan. Angela put a section in here just for me. This needs to happen, you guys. We need asset management in digital delivery. So this is my last slide. Make tater tot hot dish, get asset management, openBIM together. There is some work being done by AECOM, workshops. They've done a lot of work out there. They're going to continue. The asset management conference was excellent. BIM week, obviously, and then you'll see me at GIST. We'll continue to talk about it. Thank you.